Hello, everybody. This is Howard Fox, host of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, and I am continuing a wonderful project here in Newberry Springs, California. We are actually accomplishing a lot here this weekend. This is really the start of the 100th anniversary of Route 66, which, as most people know, depending on whether you're from the Midwest or from California. I'm from the Midwest in Chicago, so I literally knew where it started in downtown Chicago, and then it ends in Santa Monica, 2,400 some miles, but a few hundred miles east of Santa Monica is this wonderful community, Newberry Springs, and I had the pleasure of getting introduced to, actually, I kind of reached out, that's hard to believe, to Carla Claus, who was gracious enough. I thought it was going to be one podcast interview, but it soon turned into a really special project where I'm out here interviewing members of the community who are so important to Newberry Springs, to the businesses, hopefully the new businesses that will want to be out here and establish themselves, but also for the folks that live here and call this their home. By the way, this is a very special moment because I could hear a train and the whistle, which, by the way, brings back a lot of memories for me, and I love the sound of that train going. But I digress. I have the pleasure right now of introducing you to Paul and Paula Deal. So, Paula, share a little bit about what is your role here in the community, and how long have you been a part of Newberry Springs?
Well, we moved from Woodland Hills in 1980 and rented a place for a while, and then started building our home where we now live, out way east.
When you say way east of here,
just barely in the CSD area.
Okay.
Newberry Springs.
Okay.
And we soon became active in the business association. Just kind of expanded from there, and I ended up invited to fill in a spot in the Newberry CSD. I accepted, and I've been there ever since.
Excellent. Now, ever since, do you want to put a
2013 is when I first came on the board.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Now, your handsome partner in crime, Paul?
Well, I am a plumber, I'm retired, and I worked in Los Angeles in the family business, and Los Angeles became Los Angeles, and
Yes.
it's crowded, and we're not from Los Angeles originally. And so I wanted to go where there wasn't Los Angeles. We found Newberry Springs.
Excellent.
And so in 1980, the leap, we came here, and this is where I belong. The people here, and the wide open spaces, the quiet, just is perfect place for us.
Perfect place. And when you both came out here, who had this aha moment, the first to like, this is where we need to be?
Well, I think probably me. Bought the property here way back when I was still an apprentice in the plumbing trade.
Oh, boy.
There was a real estate agent in Venice, California, that had a sign, property, $15 down and $15 a month.
Oh, my God. I'm like so envious.
Yes. So every 6 months as an apprentice, I got a raise. Of course, we would spend it. So I got the raise, and that $15 bought this property out here. And on many, many years later, we came out to look at it. And when we were thinking of leaving Los Angeles, and we had a pie shop over there on Route 66, and the waitress was talking to us because there was nothing else for her to do. And so I told her we were thinking of coming out here, and she said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a plumber. And she said, oh, we need a plumber. We don't have any plumbers in Newberry.
Oh, really?
Well, that was all the market research I needed. We were on our way. And then when we got here, we found out why there weren't any plumbers in Newberry, because they were all desert folk. They did it themselves or they did without. And so then we had to add other people, plumbing to air conditioning and appliance repair and whatever anybody needed. That's what we adapted.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask a question that may, on the surface, be very naive. I want to preface that. As a plumber, where's the water coming from?
We get our water from water well,
Okay.
and that was new to me because I'm a city boy, and we get it from the water main.
So am I. Okay, good.
And,
That wasn't a naive question. Okay.
so it was principles are the same, but the old timers taught me. They were very good to us, and they explained the desert ways to me, and they having my city background and the science behind their desert ways made sense.
Okay.
And there's a whole discussion on the water in Newberry. Newberry used to be called Water.
Okay.
Where we're at now, there was actually standing water year round. And so over the years, the water table has diminished, and the wells have gone through different generations. Originally, they hand dug their wells, and now we're going 300 feet deep to get the water.
Oh, my. That takes a lot of effort.
Well, we don't do it by hand anymore.
No. I hope not. It's kind of like hard ground here. Now, how has this community changed? And in 40 some years, I imagine it's gone through a lot of changes. Paula, for you coming in here and this, your husband says, honey, by the way, we have some land. We're going to move out to Newberry Springs. What has changed for you in this community as you have grown, be a part of it, but also seeing the changes that are taking?
Well, obviously, there's been a change of people that moved here when we first moved here. Some have moved away or retired elsewhere, and many of them, unfortunately, have died. Many of the people that built this building and the family center, they were hardworking and oriented people. They didn't let much stop them. And so that has changed over the years. It's just been a continual growth
Okay.
of ideas, etc.
Okay. From your vantage point, Paul, what changed besides the water and you have to go deeper to get it?
One of the things benefits of being here for so many years is that we've seen the different wave of activity come in, go out. When we came here, there were still homesteaders and homesteaders' children still here, and there was the wave of the retirees coming out, the World War II generation that were retiring and coming here to retire, thinking this was going to be the next Palm Springs. And then as they aged out, then there was another group that came in. So it's just like waves coming in on the beach. They come in and they splash and make a lot of noise, and then they recede out, and the wave comes in. So we've been blessed to be able to see those different waves come in Newberry.
Okay. There's something I share when I'm doing podcast interviews with outdoor, we call them destination marketing organizations. So like if there was a Visit Newberry Springs, which is what Carla is very active in and getting people into the community and creating experiences for them. And even the Chambers of Commerce and Economic Development. And I always share with them, I'm always looking for my next place to live. Now, I didn't tell Carla this, but after she and I kind of talked about coming out here and doing these episodes, it was not lost on me that I needed to go out to Zillow and apartments. That I knew there wasn't any apartments out here, but it's like, okay, is there a place to live out here? Because I'm always looking for the next place to live. What are some of the activities that, from an economic development standpoint, are integral to really attracting people, businesses that want to make Newberry Springs their Well, my next question is about the community service, but I mean, look,
Newberry Newberry is a tough place.
Okay.
We're at the end of the sidewalks here.
Okay.
And NSEDA, the Newberry Springs Economic Development Association group, we're really focused on creating circular economy,
Okay.
which is shorthand for how do we become sustainable here without really going back too far into the sticks. You know what I mean? We're along our market. Our markets for our people that have businesses are not necessarily in Newberry. We don't have big population. So our markets are primarily from the side of Newberry, and so businesses here, when we had our hardware store, Feed Strong Hardware Store, was an outgrowth of the plumbing shop.
Mhm.
Plumbing shop couldn't support itself on this population. So we added animal feed and hardware store that were at, and that's how we made it. And other people come and have their stores and have their business enterprises, and then they phase out if somebody else comes in.
Okay.
And it's just been a whatever your dream is, you can do it here.
When we first came, we were raising chickens, and I mean they had millions of chickens, seemed like. And then there's the alfalfa farmers that have kind of active at that time, and then with the water ramp downs, they cut back on their fields. And then we had the ski lakes. We have world-class ski tournaments at our lakes.
What, listening
Yes.
to some episodes of some of the assets that Carl shared, and even I was watching the Hewell Hauser episode, is it's like, see, I grew up in the Detroit suburbs. I lived in Chicago, and we had up in Milwaukee or Wisconsin, Del Webb, I think is what it was called. They had the water skiing with the people standing on each other's shoulder.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking about when these ski lakes. Okay.
And of course, there's the pistachio growers,
Right.
and the water ramp downs have affected them to a certain extent, and they've aged out.
Mhm.
And so we've seen all these different waves businesses
Okay.
come in.
How have Route 66 and now the 100th anniversary of the road, obviously the Baghdad Cafe. I mean, I knew about Route 66. Goes without saying. Learning about the Baghdad Cafe when I moved from Chicago to Las Vegas, and then now here, literally stepping into it and knowing that I've watched. So I feel like I'm a part of the community now. How has Route 66 and this 100th anniversary, how is that playing a role in really sharing, like, hey guys, Newberry Springs, it ought to be on your radar?
Newberry Springs was a water stop. Before it was Newberry Springs, it was Newberry. And before it was Newberry, it was water. And the railroad has a depot here because they get water here, and they actually get water from our Newberry Spring, and that's how they watered their desert operation all the way to Newberry. There were stops in between that had water, but they would take tank water from here to their other places. And because of that, this was a destination for travelers. They'd go from water to water, and this was a good spot. And along Route 66 in Newberry Springs, there was a little town of Poe, which is now just Kirk, which is east of us. That was a place to stop along the National Old Trails Highway. There were gasoline stations every couple of miles, little stores and restaurants. Behind this building, just to the side of the old National Trails, and there was a gas station back there.
Okay.
According to the history, it was known for having a good inventory of leaf spring, because apparently the leaf springs would break on the vehicles and down our roads here. And in the Route 66, during the realignment, when they made it straight, which is what we have now, and in 1926, Route 66 was established. And so the buildings that were moved, businesses that moved from national trails over to the alignment, we had several gas stations and restaurants in our area here that would provide travel.
So we are literally on the national trails right now. I mean, if they could draw the line, we would probably be right in the middle of the road.
Oh, we're probably about 50 feet from it.
Okay, you're supposed to say yes.
Yeah.
Gloria.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
work
would
with
be
me here. Okay.
we would be watching for Model Ts.
Okay. I just think that's amazing. I mean, I always knew that Route 66 has a lot of turns in it, and I mean, notwithstanding all the development that's taken place with the interstates, but I had never known it was not on my radar, the national road. So I've learned something. So thank you, and I know you shared this wonderful map with me for our listeners. We'll have a photo of it, and there's also a wonderful photo which I've taken it to be your store, your operation.
It was the early one. It was an early picture from a resident who grew up here, who is an artist,
Okay.
and it's much different now.
Okay, excellent. Now, with the map, how long? That's a very detailed map. How and is this? That to me is souvenir material, especially if I'm a map lover. And what is unique about that map for people? What will they learn from it if we were to lay it out on the table and start to show some highlights? What would you be sharing with the visitor?
The street name is one thing, because people would come out here and they would get a parcel and build their house, and they would have to have a street and a name and an address in order to get their permit or to get mail. And so there weren't any streets. So you would find your parcel, and then you would tie a railroad tie behind your car, your truck, and you would drag it back and forth through the desert till you had a road coming to your house. And then you would name it, your name or the name of your dog or whatever. And so when they begin to line up all of the different streets, sometimes the street would have 3 or 4 names, depending on what block you were in.
Uh,
And so that that to me is interesting, because as a plumber, I had to drive the streets, had to find my way around here when there was no map.
Now I know why Huell Hauser got lost when he was trying to find the various locations on this list he printed out, because it's probably 2 or 3 different names for the same thing. I now get it. Now get it. Just by chance, is there a Fox Street here? Fox.
I don't believe so,
Well,
but there should be.
Well, see now you're getting it. You're working with me. You know, you're working. Paula, he's getting it right now. So, how are you all going to celebrate the 100th anniversary? I mean, what is on your agenda or itinerary? What do you hope for in this year of celebration? Because it's a chance to. I mean, you have a steady stream of visitors coming into this community. Is wonderful. But what do you foresee as the opportunity for this next year? What would you hope for because of the anniversary?
Well, the chamber is doing a great job planning celebration throughout the year, and starting off with the big bash, May 2nd. And so they've taken the lead with the community in establishing that we're going to do,
Okay.
and we're trying to support and attend. So
Listeners that are curious about Newberry Springs, want to pay a visit, want to know, maybe even be always looking for their next place to live, preferably on a street called Fox. But again, I digress.
You can name it.
I can name. I don't think my little Subaru can drag that big log to make the road.
Actually, it can.
It can't. Oh, that's good to know. That's why I bought the car and had off-road capabilities. Are there within the community center or economic development? Is there a website or social sites that you would typically want to encourage people to visit to learn more about economic or the community service within Newberry?
the CSD has a website, newberrycsd.net, and that tells the activities of the CSD and some community outside the CSD activities. And like a cleanup day coming up the end of February, we just found out about the county's sponsor. And unfortunately, right now, the NSEDA site is being redone and looking really good. So it will be available
Okay.
hopefully soon.
Okay. Well, if the website is ready and you've got the URL, or if it's not ready, we'll still just let us know. We'll update the show notes, because I'm sure that when visitors or my listeners are checking out this episode and all the episodes we're producing, that if they want to learn more, have the right place. Paula, it's a pleasure to meet you both. And anything else you'd like to share? I mean, it's what you look back at this history, 40 some years. Did you make the right decision?
Yeah.
If you've got a dream, this is the place to come live your dream.
I love that. Love that.
Newberry Springs.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you both. Pleasure to meet you and have this conversation. I imagine I'm going to be here the rest of the day, tomorrow, part of Sunday. But paths will cross again, or hopefully in the future. I'm trying to twist Carla's arm about May 2nd, so you might definitely see me again. But again, thank you so much for joining me on the Outdoor Adventure Series. Listen, for our listeners, this is a wonderful episode with Paul and Paula Deal. Really, I would say community leaders, part of the community service department, the economic development, and really folks that have been around here for quite a while and have seen the Newberry Springs, its prior names, Newberry Water, or whatever those. They've seen the changes, and what is quite evident is they are passionate about this community, and it's very obvious since I have been chatting with the folks so far today that people really love this community and what it brings to their soul. It's really what's important. Now, as for us, you can find our episode on our website, outdooradventureseries.com. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn, Outdoor Adventure Series pages. We'll have a video for this episode up on our YouTube page. We'll have some photos that we have taken, including one of the illustrations of the store, as well as the beautiful map. Does not yet have the street name of Fox on it. We'll take care of that, hopefully. But you'll also be able to listen to this episode wherever you get podcasts from. Hello, everybody. This is Howard, and I am back here for another short little segment. I was just interviewing Paul and Paula Deal about their roles and history here in Newberry Springs, and we kind of alluded to a photo of one of the store of the original store that was illustration that was produced, and then Paul had also shared about the Newberry Springs Desert Wonderland. It's their map. And as the recording was over from the episode, we started to talk a little bit about how the map was created. And I thought that was pretty cool, and I want to share that with you. So think of this as take two, Paul. You did such a great job. This is a wonderful I mean, it's for I don't know the exact size of the piece of paper. I mean, nobody uses maps anymore. I don't even know if I can go to AAA and get a map. But this is a map of Newberry Springs. I'll share a little bit about how this map was created.
Well, when Newberry Springs developed, if a person built their house, they would have it on their parcel, and then they would go to the nearest road and tie a railroad tie or something on the back of their car or their truck and drag it back and forth and smooth out a road to their house.
Okay.
And then in order to get building permits or to get your mail, you had to have a street name and a street address. And so that would become a street on a plot line. And over the years, we had a lot of streets and more people here, and it was very difficult to find people. And if there was a fire and our volunteer fire department was called, different members of the volunteer fire department would park their cars at strategic intersections to direct the rest of the firemen driving their vehicles to the fire. And that's how we found our way around in those emergencies. For me as a plumber coming from Los Angeles, I was not familiar with the streets, and so I would when they called and I asked for a service, I would have to ask them how to find their house. And I would get answers like, we're the third house from the end of this road. And so, but how do you know where the end of the road is? And so I learned to ask them what color car there was or what color their house was.
Okay.
And so the Newberry Springs Businessmen's Association, one of their projects was to create a map of Newberry Springs so that all the businesses could be found, little home businesses. And so about 3 or 4 ladies and myself went down to San Bernardino County to their map division, their road division, and we hand traced 2-foot by 30-inch sheets of paper that had all the different map roads and markers on it. We brought it back and put it on one page, and then Ginger Hancock, who had the ability to do that, refined it and put all the straight lines and the printed names of all the streets on it. And then before we went to print, the volunteer fire department one weekend and all of the members of NSEDA, or not NSEDA, but the Businessmen's Association, took a section of the map and went out and drove the area to make sure that we had all of the maps, all the roads in the right place and not connecting where they're not supposed to connect. And we found many roads had several names, depending on what area that person built their house and had to name their street. And so it was very interesting that way.
Very good.
And now we use Waze. And so, but the map, I still use the map quite a bit.
Okay. I think I would want to use that map, and we won't share the secret because we don't want to give it away. But no, I think that's a wonderful story. And map making, I mean, that was integral to the founding of this, the exploration of this country. I mean, you had to have maps to be able to get places.
Yeah.
And they are very important, but in this day and age, they're now on the internet or Waze or Google Maps. What I thought was interesting when you were sharing about a street could have multiple names. I don't know if you've been to in the UK, there used to be a booklet called A to Z. Mm-hmm. And if you look down A to Z within the community, like London and the boroughs, there's a name. There might be 4 or 5 instances of that same name. And so as you were sharing that, that's immediately came to mind. So what happened to you obviously happened to them, but I just think it's a wonderful story. So thanks for taking the time to kind of share that with our listeners. I think they will definitely appreciate that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and look forward to you join us in a future episode, the Outdoor Adventure Series, and more episodes that were produced here in Newberry Springs. Take care now.